Let's begin by slowing our own heartbeat to match the pace of that ancient world. To understand how Romans enjoyed their leisure, we must first feel the gentle, predictable rhythm of their ordinary day. So, imagine you are there, not for a dramatic event, but for a simple Tuesday. Let the modern sense of rushing time simply fall away. There are no clocks to watch, only the sun's reliable journey across the sky, and the civic bells marking its key moments. Your day would likely start early, with the first light, but this early rising wasn't for frantic activity. It was a quiet time. The air is cool. The city is just stirring. If you are a head of a household, you might receive clients in the dim light of your atrium, a brief, formal ritual of greeting and requests. This business, this negotium, is handled while the day is fresh. For others, it's the time to open the shop shutter, to take the tools down from the wall, to begin the work that provides for the family. There is a purpose to this morning energy, but it's contained. It has a clear end in sight. Now, feel the sun climbing higher. The morning unfolds in its tasks, and then a subtle shift occurs. Around what we would call noon, the city's energy begins to change. The sun is now high and strong, casting short, sharp shadows. This is the hora sexta, the 6th hour after sunrise. It is a signal. For many, work simply stops. It is time for the prandium dara. This midday meal is a simple affair. Think of it as a pause, not a feast. Perhaps some bread dipped in wine or olive oil, some cheese, a few olives, some cold meat or fish from the previous night's dinner. It is eaten quickly, often standing up or sitting on a stool. There is no ceremony here. The prandium is a refueling, a literal breaking of the day's fast. But its true importance is what it signifies, the boundary between duty and freedom. And now, the afternoon opens before you, vast and warm. This is the Otium diet. This word doesn't just mean free time. It carries a sense of valued leisure, of personal cultivation, of peace. This is the time that belongs not to your business, but to yourself, to your spirit, to your friendships. The fierce heat of the Mediterranean sun encourages this pause. The streets, so busy in the morning, grow quieter. Many retreat indoors to escape the sun. A hush falls over the city, a hot, drowsy, peaceful hush. This is the golden space where Roman entertainment lives. It might be spent in the cool darkness of the house, napping or reading. It might be the time for a long visit to the baths, stretching for hours. It might be for strolling in a portico or garden where the dappled shade offers relief. It is the time for long, meandering conversations with friends, for playing a game on a shaded table, for practicing music or writing a letter. There is no pressure to be productive. The productivity now is in rest, in connection, in pleasure. As the sun begins its long, slow descent, the light turns golden and kind. This is the time to prepare for the main social event, the Evening Cena, the evening meal. But even this preparation is part of the leisure. The bath, the change of clothes, the anticipation. It's all a slow, pleasurable ritual leading to the heart of the day's relaxation. So, you see, Roman entertainment wasn't just an activity you did. It was a space you entered. It was woven into the very fabric of the day. The The world itself told you when it was time to shift from duty to delight. The rhythm was natural, solar, unforced. There was a time for everything. A time for the noise of the forum, and a time for the quiet of the garden. A time for the clang of tools, and a time for the soft click of game pieces on a board. This rhythm created a container for calm. Knowing that the afternoon was sacred to Otium meant you could truly surrender to it. Your mind could let go of the morning's worries because the structure of the day held you. It was a shared societal understanding. Now we rest. Now we play. Now we are human, not just workers. As the day's heat finally begins to loosen its grip, and the long shadows stretch across the cobblestones like gentle fingers, the city exhales. The pace is slow. The movements are languid. Everyone is flowing toward their own version of evening peace. Let's follow that flow now, away from the general rhythm and into a specific green sanctuary. Let's take a slow walk, as they so often did, into the tranquility of a Roman garden. Now, let's follow that gentle pull toward peace. Imagine leaving the sun-bleached street with its echoes of the morning's commerce and stepping through a gateway. Not a grand imposing arch, but perhaps a simple wooden door in a high wall. You close it behind you, and the world changes. The first thing you notice is the quiet, the city's murmur, the cartwheels, the distant shouts, the general hum becomes a faint, almost imagined whisper, like the sound of the sea in a shell. It's not true silence, but a new layer of sound, softer and closer. The air is different. It's cooler, and it carries a fragrance. It's the green scent of damp soil and crushed herbs underfoot, mint, perhaps, or thyme. It's the sweet, heady perfume of flowering roses or the delicate aroma of violets clustered in the shade. This is the Roman garden, a hortusing. It is not a wild place. It is nature composed like a poem. Every leaf, every path, every drop of water is placed with thoughtful care. It is a landscape painted with living things. Let's take our slow walk. Underfoot, the path might be of gravel, crunching softly with each step. Or it might be a simple dirt track, packed firm by countless peaceful strolls. The path doesn't run straight. It curves, inviting you to wander, to discover what's around the gentle bend. It is lined with low, precise hedges of boxwood, their edges clipped square, a dark green frame for the brighter life within. And within those frames are splashes of color. Here, a bed of saffron crocuses, their purple petals like little cups of light. There, patches of chamomile, their daisy-like faces turned toward the sun. Marigolds, poppies, lilies. Each bloom is a note in a quiet visual song. The Romans loved their flowers not just for beauty, but for their uses. Many were for perfume, for medicine, for the kitchen. This garden is both a feast for the eyes and a quiet, practical pantry. But the true music of this place is water. You hear it before you see it. It is a constant, gentle presence, a soft trickle, a quiet plash, a low, contented murmur. Water is the soul of this green heart. Follow the sound. You might find a simple stone fountain where water bubbles from a spout shaped like a dolphin's mouth, falling with a soothing patter into a moss-lined basin. Or a canalysis, a narrow channel lined with tiles, guiding a clear, shallow stream through the garden, its journey reflecting the dappled sunlight. For the wealthier, there might be a nymphangum, a grotto dedicated to the water nymphs, a shaded niche in a wall, decorated with shells and colorful mosaics of sea creatures, where water cascades down over rocks into a pool below. You can sit here on a cool marble bench, feeling the faint mist on your face, and simply listen. The water's sound empties the mind of clutter. It speaks of coolness, of cleanliness, of endless, cyclical flow. It is the perfect sound for reflection. As you walk, you'll find places to pause. Not just benches, but little surprises. A small marble statue, weathered to a smooth softness. It might be Priapus, a rustic guardian of gardens, looking more comical than fearsome, or a statue of Venus, goddess of beauty, reminding you of the grace in this place. Sometimes the statue is just a simple herm, a pillar topped with the head of the god Terminus, or a bearded Silenus. They stand as familiar, silent companions in your stroll. Look up. The garden is a tapestry of green against the blue sky. Vines, heavy with grapes not yet ripe, climb wooden trellises, creating tunnels of dappled shade. Fruit trees, figs, apples, pears, offer their bounty in season. And tall, slender cypress trees stand like sentinels at the corners, their dark shapes pointing calmly toward the heavens. This is a place for all the senses, but used gently. You touch the rough bark of a tree, the velvety petal of a rose. You taste a sun-warmed berry plucked from a bush. You see the play of light and shadow, the dance of butterflies from bloom to bloom. You smell the herbal air and hear the everlasting water. And what do you enjoy here? Very little, and that is the point. This is a theater of Otium. One person sits on a bench, a scroll unrolled in their lap, reading a line of Virgil, then gazing off at a cloud, the poetry blending with the lived beauty around them. Two friends walk side by side, talking in low voices, not of business or politics, but of philosophy, or a shared memory, or simply commenting on the health of the rose bushes. Someone else is utterly alone, sitting perfectly still, just being, letting the peace of the ordered green world seep into their bones. This garden is a mirror of the Roman ideal. It is nature, but nature made orderly, useful, and beautiful. It is wildness tamed into harmony. To be here is to participate in that harmony. Your restless thoughts begin to slow, to match the pace of the drifting cloud, the growing vine, the trickling stream. The garden doesn't demand your attention. It simply offers a space where your mind can breathe, can unfold slowly like a new leaf. As the afternoon sun slants lower, painting the garden in tones of gold and long, soft purple shadows, you feel the day's gentle arc. The heat has passed. The peace has done its work. You are refreshed, not excited, calm, not idle. The garden has held you, and now it softly releases you back toward the human world of home and evening. And as you turn to leave, you carry its quiet with you, the scent of herbs on your clothes, the sound of water in your mind. It is a green heart you can return to anytime you close your eyes and remember the path, the flowers, and the endless gentle murmur of the fountain. As we step from the green, perfumed calm of the garden back into the shaded portico of a home, or perhaps into the corner of a tavern just as the afternoon heat begins to wane, we find a different kind of quiet focus. It's the quiet of concentration, a friendly challenge. Here, the entertainment is not in wandering paths or flowing water, but in the clean, simple logic of a board and the soft, random tumble of dice. This is the world of Roman games, a world of polished wood, smooth stone, and the gentle click of pieces. Find a spot at a wooden table, its surface worn smooth by countless elbows and the slide of game boards. The air might smell of wine and bread here, a homely, comforting scent. Two people sit across from each other. Between them lies not a battlefield, but a field of thought. Let's lean closer and see what they are playing. One of the most beloved games was Latrunculi, the game of little soldiers, or mercenaries. Imagine a grid, perhaps scratched directly to the tabletop or marked on a portable wooden board. Each player has a set of pieces, often simple stones or glass counters. One set might be white, the other a dark color. The goal is elegant in its simplicity, to capture your opponent's pieces by trapping them between two of your own. Watch for a moment. The players do not move quickly. A hand hovers over the board, then withdraws to think. There is a soft, thoughtful silence. The only sounds are the distant cry of a street vendor and the buzz of a fly in the sunbeam. Then a decision is made. A smooth, dark stone is placed on an intersection with a definity, che, tak, ga. The move might be defensive, building a line, or it might be aggressive, creeping toward an isolated white piece. The opponent studies the new landscape of the board, their eyes tracing invisible lines of attack and retreat. It is a quiet dance of strategy, a conversation without words. There is no great drama in each move, but a slow building tension that is deeply satisfying to the mind. It is a gentle exercise in foresight and patience. The victory, when it comes, is met not with a shout, but with a slow nod, a slight smile, and perhaps the resetting of the pieces for another, companionable round. Then there is Tabulae, a game we would recognize instantly as the ancestor of backgammon. Here, the board is divided, and each player has a set of counters to move around a course. The pace is different. While Latrunculi is pure strategy, Tabulae is a delightful mix of planning and luck. The key element is the dice. They are not the perfect cubes we know, but often Atheling, knuckle bones from sheep or goats, with 4 long sides, each with a different value. Or they might be cubic dice, marked with dots. Watch as one player picks up the dice. They might shake them gently in a wooden einfritillesing, a tall tower-like dice cup designed to prevent cheating, or simply rattle them in their closed hand. There's a soft hollow sound. Then with a flick of the wrist, they tumble the dice onto the table. The roll is a tiny moment of fate, a little spark of chance in the calm afternoon. A low murmur as the numbers are read. A Venus's throw, the best possible, might bring a quiet chuckle. A poor roll gets a sympathetic sigh. Based on the roll, the player moves their pieces. The strategy comes in choosing which piece to move, in blocking your opponent's path, in deciding when to play it safe and when to take a risk. It's a social game. There's more talk here. A little friendly teasing, a comment on a fortunate or unfortunate roll. A small wager might be involved. A single wasp, a bronze coin. But the coin is almost an afterthought, a token to give the game a slight edge. The real currency is the shared experience, the back and forth, the communal engagement with luck and skill. For simpler, more universal play, there was Eterni Lapilling, simply 3 pebbles. We know it as tic-tac-toe. Its grid, a simple hash of 2 lines crossed by 2 lines, is found everywhere, scratched into the steps of the forum, waiting for a senator's idle moment, carved into a windowsill in a soldier's barracks at a remote frontier fort, etched into the clay of a rooftop tile in a provincial town. It is the game of waiting, of passing a quiet moment. It requires no equipment but a stick to scratch in the dust. It is quick, simple, and endlessly repeatable. It is the pure, unadorned expression of the playful mind. And everywhere there were dice games on their own. Groups of men in taverns throwing for the best score. The soft clatter of bone on wood, a familiar soundtrack to the evening. Children playing in the street with their own crude sets. The games had names like Iduodecim Scripta, 12 lines, another race game, or simple betting on a high roll. But to see these games as merely pastimes is to miss their deeper rhythm. In a world without constant digital distraction, these games provided a profound mental engagement. They were a way to focus the mind completely on a small, manageable world with clear rules. The worries of the day, the complexities of life, all faded away, replaced by the singular question, what is my next move? They were also a powerful social glue. Playing a game required sitting together, face to face, sharing the same space of attention. It fostered conversation, camaraderie, and a gentle, healthy competition. It was an activity that could be enjoyed by emperor and slave, by soldier and merchant, by parent and child. The rules were a common language. So, picture the scene as the light fades. A lamp is lit, its flame causing the shadows of the game pieces to dance on the board. The play continues, slower now. The clicks and clacks are sporadic, punctuating long, comfortable silences. The game is no longer about winning, but about the pleasant, shared state of playing. It is a way to be together, to be mentally engaged, yet utterly at ease. The board is a tiny world they have built together, a world of order and chance, where for a little while the only thing that matters is the next roll of the dice, the next move of a little stone soldier. It is a perfect, quiet entertainment for the lengthening shadows of a Roman evening. As the last golden light of the Otium afternoon fades, and the sky softens to a deep cobalt blue, the focus of Roman life turns inward toward the hearth, toward companionship, toward the senses. The day's public face is retired. The private, cherished ritual begins. This is the time for the Cena, the evening meal. But to call it merely a meal is to call a symphony merely a noise. The Cena was the heart of social life, a slow, multi-sensory experience designed not just to nourish the body, but to soothe the soul and bind people together. Let's imagine we are invited. We arrive at a comfortable domus, a city home. The bustle of the street is shut out by a heavy door. We are in the atrium, where the last light from the open roof catches the gentle splash of the impluvium, the central pool. There is a feeling of transition here, A household slave gently helps us remove our outdoor shoes and offers a basin of cool water to wash the dust of the city from our hands and feet. It is a simple cleansing act, a symbolic shedding of the outside world. We are then guided not to a dining room as we know it, but to the Triclinium hall. The name means dry couch room, and there they are. 3 large, cushioned couches arranged in a horseshoe shape around a central, low table of fine wood or marble. This is the first surprise. We will not sit, but recline. It is the posture of ultimate leisure, of complete relaxation. We slip off our sandals and ease onto the couch, lying on our left side, propped up on an elbow. It feels strangely freeing, a little formal at first, but then deeply comfortable. It signals a shift in being. You are not upright and ready for business. You are supine, open, and ready to receive pleasure. The space is intimate. The diners are close, facing one another, their heads near the table, their feet toward the outside. Conversation will be easy, quiet, personal. The room itself is a cocoon of comfort. The walls might be painted with serene garden scenes, lush with birds and fruit, bringing the outdoor peace inside. The flickering light from several oil lamps dances across these frescoes, making the painted leaves seem to stir. The air is already beginning to carry promising scents from the kitchen quarters. The earthy aroma of simmering lentils, the sharp tang of garum, the beloved fermented fish sauce, the herbaceous note of rosemary and bay. The meal unfolds not in courses as we think of them, but in waves, like a slow, gentle tide. First comes the gustatia, the appetizers. This is the light, opening movement. A slave brings out a simple wooden tray and places it on the table. Upon it are small, shared dishes, a bowl of glossy green olives soaked in brine and herbs, a plate of fresh raw vegetables, radishes perhaps, or pale stalks of celery, to crunch. There might be small snails, cooked with garlic and oil, or a delicate omelet flavored with pepper and honey. To accompany this, we are served emulsum, a drink of wine mixed with warm honey. It is sweet, fragrant, and slightly spiced. We take small sips. The purpose here is not to fill the stomach, but to awaken it, to tease the palate. The conversation is similarly light. Comments on the food, quiet observations about the day, the soft laughter of friends reconnecting. The pace is unhurried. There are long pauses. No one is rushing. After a time, when the emulsum cups are low and the last olive is taken, the main event arrives. The mensa prime, the first table, or main course. This is where the heartiness lies. For a modest household, it might be a single, substantial dish, a rich, slow-cooked pulse, a porridge of spelt wheat, topped with a few pieces of chicken or pork and a generous drizzle of that savory garum. For a wealthier home, several dishes appear at once, creating a small landscape of flavors on the central table. Imagine a tender stew of lamb, falling apart after hours of cooking with dried figs, and a touch of vinegar for sweetness and tang. A whole sea bass, baked in a crust of salt and herbs, its flesh flaking perfectly at the touch. Simple but perfect asparagus spears, dressed in olive oil and a sprinkle of salt. Dishes of beans or lentils, cooked with onion and cumin. The food is not heavily spiced in the way we might think, but seasoned with care. Black pepper, a precious commodity. lovage, coriander, the ever-present garum, which acts like a Roman soy sauce, adding a deep, salty umami depth. We do not have individual plates. We eat from the shared dishes in the center, using our fingers mostly, or pieces of firm, flat bread to scoop up stews. It is communal, tactile, intimate. A slave moves quietly around the room, ensuring the wine cups, the ye acantharing, or chalices, are never empty. And here's another key ritual. The wine is always mixed. Drinking it neat was considered uncivilized, barbaric. A crater, a large mixing bowl, sits to the side. In it, wine from an amphora is carefully blended with warm water, often 2 or 3 parts water to 1 of wine. It is a social drink, meant to promote conversation and relaxation without heavy intoxication. It is served in cups of clay, glass, or even silver, and it flows steadily throughout the evening. As we eat and drink, the conversation deepens. The topics meander. There might be recitations. A guest might be persuaded to share a few lines of the new poem they are writing, or a favorite passage from Homer's Odyssey. Someone tells a long, amusing story about a mutual acquaintance. There might be discussion of a philosophical idea, not in debate, but in mutual wonder. The food and the wine work together to lower barriers, to warm spirits, to create a bubble of shared safety and goodwill. The Evening Cena is the original social network, built not of wires and signals, but of shared lamb stew, honeyed wine, and the soft glow of lamplight on familiar faces. Finally, when the last of the main dishes is savored, the final wave arrives. The womensa secunding, the second table. This is dessert, but not a heavy, sugary finale. It is a fresh, clean closing note. A woven basket is passed, filled with seasonal fruits, apples, pears, figs bursting with jewel-like seeds, clusters of grapes, perhaps a pomegranate, its ruby arils glistening. There are nuts, walnuts, almonds, pine nuts. Sometimes small sweet cakes fried in honey, or a soft cheese drizzled with the same. We pick at these slowly, almost absently, as the conversation begins to wind down into a contented hum. Now, the meal is truly over, but the evening may linger. The table is quietly cleared. More wine might be brought, mixed even weaker now. Someone might call for a musical instrument, a lira, or a pair of Tabulae, and soft music fills the room. Others might simply recline further into their cushions, staring at the ceiling frescoes, their minds pleasantly full, their bodies utterly relaxed. The world outside has ceased to exist. In this warm, fragrant, softly lit room, there is only this moment of perfect, shared contentment. The Evening was the ultimate Roman entertainment because it engaged every part of the self: taste, smell, touch, sight, and hearing. It was a ritual that celebrated not just food, but friendship, family, and the profound human need to connect in a space of safety and pleasure. It was a long, loving exhale at the end of the day, a reminder that the greatest joys are often the simplest: good food, gentle drink, and the quiet company of those who make us feel at home. As the lamps burn low and the night deepens outside, the feeling within is one of profound, nourished peace. As the last notes of conversation from the Evening Cena fade into the comfortable silence of a home, let us turn our thoughts to another, grander stage of Roman leisure, one that was not private, but profoundly communal. Imagine now not the intimacy of a dining couch, but the vast, echoing yet deeply soothing spaces of the public baths, the Ytherme. To go to the baths was not merely to get clean. It was to embark on a slow, sensory journey of restoration. It was a ritual that could take hours, a dedicated pilgrimage to the temple of well-being. Let us follow a citizen, perhaps our same friend from the garden and the dinner, as he makes his way there in the late afternoon. The entrance fee is a tiny bronze quadrans, almost nothing. It is a civic right, a gift to the people. Pushing through the heavy wool curtain at the entrance, we leave the ordinary world behind. The air changes instantly. It is warm, moist, and carries a distinctive scent, a clean mixture of steam, heated marble, and the faint astringent smell of the oils and strigils used for scraping the skin. The noise changes too. The street sounds vanish, replaced by a low, resonant hum. It is the sound of hundreds of people speaking in relaxed tones, their voices echoing off high vaulted ceilings and marble walls. It is the constant, soothing splash and gurgle of water in pools and fountains. It is the slap of wet sandals on wet stone. This is not a silent place, but its soundscape is uniform, a blanket of white noise that somehow encourages calm. Our bather likely begins in the Sai Palestrae, the open-air exercise yard. But this is not a frantic gym. It's a place for gentle movement to warm the muscles and stimulate the blood. He might join a casual game of Trigon, a 3-player ball toss game requiring more coordination and gentle throws than fierce exertion. Or he might practice with weights, not to build bulk, but to feel the pleasant stretch and pull in his arms. Others wrestle playfully, their bodies gleaming with oil under the sky. The mood is light, social, like the easy play of children. The goal here is not exhaustion, but a pleasant, warm looseness. He works up just enough of a light sweat to feel ready for the true ritual to begin. Now, the core sequence unfolds, a journey through temperatures, a carefully choreographed dance of heat and cool. First, he enters the tepidarium door. This is the warm room. It is not hot, but gently heated, a perfect buffer between the outside air and the intense heat to come. The air is moist and mild. He might sit on a warm marble bench, its surface heated from below by the Hippocos system, the ingenious network of hollow spaces under the floor where hot air from furnaces circulates. He simply sits here, acclimating. He breathes deeply. He chats idly with a friend on the next bench. The pace is glacial. There is no rushing. The body and mind must adjust. This room is a transition, a mental doorway saying, leave your haste outside him. When he feels ready, he moves into the decaldarium. This is the hot room, the heart of the bathing ritual. The heat here is palpable, a thick, humid embrace. The air shimmers with steam, softening the edges of the room, making the other bathers look like peaceful ghosts. He finds another marble bench, even hotter to the touch, and lies back. The heat seeps into his muscles, unlocking every knot of tension from the day. He begins to sweat, a deep, purifying sweat. He might pour warm water over himself from a small basin. The sound of dripping water is everywhere. He closes his eyes. The heat is not oppressive, but immersive, like sinking into a deep, warm lake. Thoughts slow. The mind empties. There is only the sensation of heat, the sound of water, the low murmur of voices. Time becomes meaningless. After a long while, when the heat has done its work, a slave might approach. Our bather has coated his skin in oil. The slave takes a gistrigeling, a curved metal tool, and with long practiced strokes, scrapes the oil away, taking with it the sweat, the dirt, the dead skin. The sensation is not harsh, but deeply satisfying, a feeling of literal and metaphorical cleansing. The grime of the city is scraped off, leaving the skin feeling new, smooth, and incredibly clean. Then, the beautiful shock, the frigidarium poltor. He leaves the steam and steps into the cold room. In its center is a large, deep, circular plunge pool. The water is fresh, cold, and often fed directly by an aqueduct. He doesn't hesitate. He slips into the water. The cold is instantaneous and breathtaking. It closes around his body like a crisp, clean sheet. For a second, all thought stops. Then, a surge of pure, exhilarating vitality. The pores snap shut. The blood races. The lingering haze of the heat is violently, wonderfully swept away. He emerges gasping, perhaps laughing, his skin tingling, his whole body singing with alertness and life. He is reborn. The bathing ritual is technically complete, but the social ritual is just entering a new phase. Dried and wrapped in a clean linen towel, he now moves into the most leisurely part of the visit. He might wander through the bath complex own gardens, strolling among colonnades, listening to the water in the nymphaea. He might visit the on-site library, browsing scrolls in a quiet corner. He might get a professional soothing massage with lavender or rose oil. He will certainly meet friends. They might find a spot in the grand, vaulted Basilica Thermaromum, the main hall, and simply talk for an hour or more. This is where the baths become the great social mixer of Rome. Here, the senator, the shopkeeper, the soldier, and the freedman all share the same fundamental experience. Stripped of their togas and tunics, stripped of the visible markers of rank, they are simply Romans, sharing in the common human pleasures of warmth, cleanliness, and relaxed conversation. Business might be discussed, but gently. Gossip is shared. Jokes are told. It is a vast, secular congregation bound by a shared feeling of well-being. As the afternoon light outside begins to fail and the interior lamps are lit, casting a warm, flickering glow on the majestic architecture, our bather finally feels the gentle pull to leave. He dresses slowly, his body feeling light, clean, and profoundly relaxed. His mind is clear, his spirits are calm. The complex heat and the bracing cold have scrubbed away not just physical dirt, but mental fatigue. Stepping back out into the cool evening air of the street is like entering a different world. The sounds are sharper, the air is thinner, but he carries the bath's peace with him, in his cleansed skin, in his loosened muscles, in his quieted mind. The Ithamae were not just a building. They were an experience, a weekly or even daily rebirth. They taught a lesson in balance. Heat must be followed by cold, exertion by rest, solitude by society. It was the most complete, the most physical, and in many ways, the most calming form of entertainment the Roman world had to offer. A long, loving ceremony dedicated to the care of the self, performed in the gentle company of an entire city. As we carry the deep, clean relaxation of the baths, out into the violet haze of evening. Let's attune our ears to a different layer of Roman life. Beyond the grand public spectacles and the intimate dinner conversations, there was a constant, gentle soundtrack. It was the music of the everyday, not the formal performances of the theater, but the personal, spontaneous, and deeply woven sounds of leisure. This music was not something you always went to see. It was something that happened around you, something you might make yourself. It was in the air, like the scent of baking bread or evening jasmine. Let's start in a place we've already visited in our minds, the triclinium after the Cena. The dishes have been cleared. The lamplight is a soft, golden pool on the low table. The conversation has reached one of those comfortable lulls. Then a friend is persuaded. With a smile, they reach for the lyra, leaning against the wall. This is not a large harp, but a small, handheld instrument, its body often made of tortoiseshell, its strings of gut. The sound, when they pluck the first chord, is intimate and resonant. It doesn't fill the room with force. It wears the room like a comfortable cloak. They begin to play. It might be a familiar tune, a popular song everyone knows the words to. The melody is simple, repetitive, soothing. Someone starts to hum. Then another joins in, singing the words softly, almost under their breath. The song might be a drinking song, a scullion, with playful, teasing lyrics. Or it could be a love poem by Catullus set to a plaintive tune. The music becomes an extension of the conversation, a shared emotional space. There is no audience, only participants. The player is not a virtuoso performing, but a friend offering a gift of sound. The gentle strumming, the quiet singing, it deepens the mood of contentment, ties the evening together with a thread of melody. Now, imagine walking home through a residential street later that night. The city is quiet, your own footsteps the loudest sound. Then, from an open upper window, you hear it. The pure lyrical line of a tibia. This is not a flute as we imagine it, but a reed instrument, often played in pairs. Its sound is clear, piercingly sweet, and carries a faint, breathy sadness. It drifts down into the dark street like a falling leaf. You pause for a moment in the shadow of a doorway and listen. The tune is lonely, beautiful. It speaks of private thoughts, of longing, or simply of a musician practicing a difficult phrase over and over until it's perfect. You don't know who is playing or why, but for a handful of heartbeats, their private expression of beauty becomes part of your evening. Then you walk on, the last notes lingering in your mind, a ghost of sound in the moonlit air. Music was also the backdrop to more active leisure. Picture the gardens we strolled through earlier. In a shaded alcove, a small group might have hired a musician for an afternoon gathering. A girl plays the Histori, a larger, more complex cousin of the lyre. Its sound is richer, deeper, more suited to the poetry of great heroes and gods. The guests might listen more attentively here, the music being a central focus for a while. It tells a story without words, the story of Apollo or of Orpheus charming the beasts. The notes rise and fall, and for a time, the garden listeners are transported, not by travel, but by sound. But music wasn't only for the wealthy or the skilled. It was in the hum of the street, the rhythmic clapping and chanting from a tavern where men keep time for a dancer. The flutist, Tibection, who was a necessary part of any religious sacrifice or wedding procession, his music marking the ritual, giving the event a sacred soundtrack. The simple tune a mother hums to her child at bedtime, a universal lullaby that needs no instrument. And then there was the human voice itself, the first and most portable instrument. Shepherds sang in the hills outside the city to pass the time and to calm their flocks. Soldiers on the march sang songs to keep the step, deep, rhythmic chants that built camaraderie. Workers might sing a call and response song to synchronize a heavy lift, turning labor into something closer to a rhythmic game. This everyday music served a gentle purpose. It wasn't designed to astonish or to provoke intense drama. It was designed to accompany, to sweeten time, to give a private feeling, a shared sound, to turn a moment from ordinary to slightly more beautiful. Think of the functional music, the soft strum of the lyre covering an awkward pause in conversation, the flute's tune giving a walker something beautiful to contemplate, the sithara's story providing a shared focus for a group's imagination. This music asked for little. It offered much. It was a gentle intervention in the day. In a world without recorded sound, music was an event. It was fleeting. You had to be there in that moment to hear it. This made it precious. The accidental hearing of a distant flute from an unseen window was a tiny, personal gift. The shared singing among friends was a bond forged in real time, in harmony, both musical and social. So, as the Roman day wound down, through the haze of good food, the warmth of the baths, and the comfort of home, music was often the final thread. It was the sound of contentment, the soft pluck of a string, the breath through a pipe, the rise and fall of a familiar song among trusted voices. It didn't shout of joy, but whispered of peace. It was the audible sigh of a day well spent, the gentle soundtrack to the most human of all entertainments, the simple, profound pleasure of being alive together in a moment softened by sound. Now, let us move from the shared, audible world of music into a space of profound quiet, a space where the only sounds are the soft crackle of a lamp's flame, the gentle rustle of papyrus, and the quiet rhythm of one's own breathing. As the city finally settles into deep night, we enter the most private and inward form of Roman entertainment, the world of books and letters. This is not a passive leisure, but an active, quiet engagement of the imagination. It is a journey taken while sitting perfectly still. Picture our Roman friend once more. The family has retired. The slaves are quiet. The domicile is shrouded in a silence so deep you can almost feel its weight. He retreats to his tablinum, a small room often just off the atrium, which serves as a study or office. It is a personal sanctuary. On a shelf, or in a cylindrical box called a capsa, lie his most prized possessions, his scrolls. He selects one. The scroll, or volumen, is not a thing you hold lightly. It has a physical heft. It is made of sheets of papyrus, glued together side by side, and then carefully rolled around two wooden rods. A small tag, a yezidibas, might dangle from the end, bearing the title. He carries it to his reading stand, a simple slanted desk, and unrolls it with both hands. The text is not in pages, but in a continuous flow, arranged in vertical columns. To read is to perform a slow, two-handed dance. The right hand unrolls the new text, while the left hand rolls up what has been read. There is a gentle, rhythmic motion to it. You are literally unfolding the story, physically progressing through the narrative. He begins to read. Perhaps it is history, the rolling, stately prose of Livy, telling the epic tale of Rome's early days. The bravery of Horatius at the bridge, the solemn virtue of Cincinnatus leaving his plow to save the Republic. The words are not scanned quickly. They are absorbed. He reads a sentence, a paragraph, and then his gaze might lift, staring at the wall, but seeing the 7 hills covered in thatch huts, hearing the clash of bronze on bronze. The reading is slow, thoughtful. It is a conversation across centuries. He is not just learning facts. He is living in another time, guided by the author's voice. Or perhaps he chooses poetry, the witty, clever verses of Ovid, full of metamorphoses and love advice. The passionate, sometimes painful, intimacy of Catullus' poems to Lesbia. The majestic, confident stanzas of Virgil's Aeneid, where the destiny of Rome is written in the stars. Poetry demands an even slower pace. You taste the words, feel their rhythm, let the images bloom in the mind's eye. A single line might be read twice, 3 times, for the sheer pleasure of its sound and meaning. In this quiet room, the poet's voice speaks directly to him, across the years, about love, loss, beauty, and fate. It is a deeply personal connection. He might have a novel, a fantastical tale like Apuleius at the Golden Ash, the story of a man transformed into a donkey who witnesses the strange, humorous, and magical underbelly of the Roman world. To read this is to lose oneself completely, to be carried away on a current of narrative. The flickering lamp becomes the light of a strange inn. The silence of the house becomes the deep quiet of a forest where witches plot. This is entertainment that requires nothing but the mind's willingness to dream along with the text. The act of reading itself is a form of otium, a cultivated, intellectual leisure. It exercises the imagination in a way that nothing else can. It demands focus, pulling the reader into a world of pure thought and image, far from the daily concerns of business or politics. It is calming because it is immersive. The worries of the day are pushed aside by the need to follow the thread of the argument, the arc of the story, the beauty of the verse. But the written word was not only for published authors. There was an even more intimate form, the letter. Imagine our reader now, putting aside the scroll. He takes out a wax tablet, i.e. tabula, or a sheet of papyrus. He prepares his ink and a reed pen. He is going to write to a friend. Perhaps that friend is in Hispania, governing a province, or in Alexandria, studying at the great library, or stationed on the cold, misty frontier of Britannia. The distance is vast, the time for a reply measured in months. Writing a letter in this world is a significant act of leisure and affection. It is a one-sided conversation, crafted with care. He begins with the traditional greeting, Marcus Lepidus to his friend Gaius, Lucretius, greetings. Then he settles into the news. He writes of family, a child's first words, a wife's mild illness now recovered. He shares gossip heard in the forum. He describes the unseasonably warm autumn, the quality of the olive harvest on his country estate. He asks after his friend's health, his work, his spirits. Then he might shift to more reflective thoughts. He discusses a philosophical idea he's been pondering from the Stoics on the nature of controlling what one can and accepting what one cannot. He recommends a new book of poetry he's just read. He shares a memory of their time together as young men, a reminiscence that brings a smile to his face as he writes it. The letter becomes a portrait of his inner life, a gift of his time and thought sent across the sea. When he's finished, he sprinkles fine sand over the ink to dry it, rolls the papyrus, ties it with a thread, and seals it with a dollop of wax pressed with his signet ring. This little cylinder contains his voice, his presence. Sending it is an act of hope. Hope that it will arrive. Hope that it will be welcomed. And for the recipient, receiving such a letter was a major event. It was not glanced at and discarded. It was opened with ceremony, read slowly, often aloud to the entire household. It was a voice from home, from a beloved friend, breaking the isolation of distance. It was reread, cherished, and answered with the same thoughtful care. The exchange of letters was a slow, elegant dance of minds and hearts, a form of entertainment that spanned continents and deepened friendships over years. So, in the deepest quiet of the Roman night, the entertainment often glowed from a single lamp. It was the soft, focused light illuminating a column of text on a scroll, transporting a mind to Troy or to a magical Thessaly. Or it was the light shining on a hand moving steadily across papyrus, weaving a thread of connection to another soul far away. This was the quiet world of books and letters. It asked for nothing but a peaceful hour. It offered in return endless worlds to explore, profound ideas to consider, and the deep, comforting sense of connection to the great minds of the past and to the cherished friends of the present. It was the ultimate proof that the most powerful adventures often begin not with a step, but with a settled breath and an open mind. As our Roman week progresses from private leisure toward the public festival day, the scale of entertainment shifts. It moves from the intimacy of the home, the garden, and the study, out into the open air, under the vast dome of the sky. This was entertainment as a shared civic heartbeat. Imagine the feeling of a city pausing together. Shops shutter, work ceases, a collective anticipation fills the streets, a gentle, buzzing energy as thousands of people flow in the same direction, pulled toward a common point of focus. Today, we will not observe from a quiet corner, but feel the gentle, massive hum of the crowd, not for its roar, but for its unity. Let us begin in the stone embrace of the Theater. Roman theaters were vast, semicircular wonders of engineering, carved into hillsides or raised on arches, open to the sky. But step inside one on a festival morning. The mood, surprisingly, is not one of hushed reverence, but of relaxed, communal enjoyment. The crowd shuffles in, finding their seats according to social rank. The best marble seats at the bottom for the senators, the higher wooden benches for the common citizens. There's a murmur of conversation, the rustle of food being unwrapped. People brought picnics, nuts, fruit to eat during the long performances. The plays they love most are comedies, the works of Plautus and Terence. The masks the actors wear are not meant to be realistic. They are bold, exaggerated. The old miser with a red, scowling face, the clever slave with a knowing grin, the young lover with a pale, anguished expression. The costumes are bright, padded for visibility. The stories are wonderfully familiar. Mistaken identities, long-lost children recognized by a birthmark, foolish old men outwitted by clever servants. The humor is broad, physical, playful, and the audience participates. They don't sit in silence. They laugh openly, a wave of mirth rolling up the stone benches. They call out to the actors. If a character delivers a particularly clever line, they might applaud. If they dislike a villain, they might gently boo or hiss, all in good fun. They are not distant critics. They are part of the performance. The play is a shared social release, a collective agreement to laugh at human folly, greed, pride, lust, in a safe, fictional space. There is also mime, wordless storytelling, with graceful gestures, and pantomime, where a single masked dancer performs tragic myths to music and a chorus. Here, the entertainment is visual, emotional, a beautiful flow of movement that tells of gods and heroes, eliciting a shared sigh of pity or awe. The theater is a place of shared emotion, where a community feels joy or sorrow together under the warm sun. Now, feel a different kind of energy, a low, distant rumble that is not thunder, but tens of thousands of voices. We are at the Ye Circus Maximus. It is not a circus as we know it. It is a long, narrow valley between two hills, transformed into the greatest racetrack in the world. It can hold a quarter of Rome's people. From the highest tier, the view is breathtaking. The long, sandy track, the central ice pinna bristling with obelisks, statues, and turning posts, and a sea of humanity on every side. The excitement here is palpable, but it is a familiar, ritualistic excitement. People have their factions. The blues, the greens, the reds, the whites. Supporting a faction is like supporting a family or a neighborhood. It is an identity. You wear your faction's color. You know the names and records of the star charioteers as we know star athletes. The ritual begins with a grand procession, the G.E. Pampa Circensis. Priests, musicians, statues of the gods are paraded around the track. It is a sacred opening. Then, the chariots take their place. 4-horse teams, the equadragaian, gleaming with polish and bright paint. The drivers are small, tough men, wrapped in the colors of their faction, the reins tied around their waists. A trumpet sounds. They are off. The sound is immense. The thunder of 48 hooves, the roar of the crowd rising as one voice, the rattle of chariot wheels on the hard-packed sand. The race is 7 laps around the long course. The danger is at the turns, the imetai, where chariots jostle for the tightest line and spectacular, terrible crashes can happen. The crowd's voice follows the action, a collective gasp at a near miss, a huge groan at a crash, a rising cheer as their color pulls ahead on the final straight. It is thrilling, but it is a shared thrill. You are surrounded by people feeling the same surges of hope and disappointment. You are part of a vast, living organism of emotion. It is a day-long event, a picnic, a social outing, a chance to see and be seen, all centered on this powerful, primal spectacle of speed, skill, and danger. You leave hoarse, dusty, and filled with the vivid memory of color and motion, a story to tell for days. Finally, we come to the most complex of Roman spectacles, the amphitheater. The Flavian amphitheater, which we call the Colosseum, is the grandest of them all. Its purpose is unambiguous. It is a place for the extraordinary. To understand it as entertainment, we must set aside our modern horror and see it through the calm, distant lens of Roman values. The day begins often with the Iphinetiones, the animal hunts. This is not a hunt in a forest. It is a pageant of the natural world, a display of the empire's reach. Exotic animals from the farthest provinces are paraded into the arena. Lions from North Africa, tigers from Persia, crocodiles from Egypt, bears from Germania. There is an awe in seeing these creatures. Myths made flesh. Elaborate sets are built. Forests, rocky outcrops. Hunters, evenatores, face them with spears, arrows, and courage. The crowd watches, marveling at the power of the beast and the skill of the hunter. It is a display of human mastery over the chaotic natural world, a theme that resonated deeply. There is danger, yes, but also a profound curiosity about these magnificent foreign creatures. In the interlude, executions of condemned criminals might take place, often enacting mythological punishments. These were blunt lessons in justice and fate, watched with a solemn, moralizing eye by the crowd. Then, the afternoon brings the gladiators. They enter with a formal parade, glittering in bronze and steel. They are not all slaves. Some are professional fighters, celebrities in their own right. They pair off according to their types. The myrmilons with fish-crested helmets and short swords, the retiarii with tridents and nets, the Cracians with curved swords and small square shields. The combat that follows is not a frenzied brawl. It is a display of disciplined skill, courage, and, perhaps most importantly, acceptance of fate. The crowd does not merely bay for blood. They are connoisseurs. They appreciate a clever parry, a masterful feint, a display of endurance. They call out advice. When a gladiator is wounded and submits, he raises a finger in appeal. The game's sponsor looks to the crowd. They signal with shouts and the waving of cloths, thumbs turned, not necessarily up or down, but pressed sideways for death or concealed for mercy. The decision is collective. A brave loser is often spared. A cowardly fighter is not. The spectacle is deeply intertwined with Roman ideals. Virtus, courage, disciplinarian, training, and ignitas, honor in the face of death. To be in that crowd is to participate in a profound, communal ritual. It is a meditation on mortality, bravery, and fortune, played out in the starkest terms imaginable. It evokes powerful emotions, awe at the skill, pity for the fallen, a sober reflection on the fragility of life. It is cathartic. It binds the community together, not just in shared thrill, but in a shared, visceral understanding of the human condition. As the shadows lengthen across the arena's sand, and the final combats conclude, the crowd files out slowly. The emotion is spent. There is a quiet, almost subdued feeling among the people. They have laughed together at the theater, thrilled together at the races, and borne solemn witness together in the amphitheater. They have shared the full spectrum of experience as a city, as a people. They return to their homes not agitated, but emotionally settled, having participated in the ancient collective rituals that reminded them of who they were. The shared experience, in all its forms, was the glue of civic life, a powerful periodic reminder that they were not just individuals, but part of the great, enduring entity called Rome. As the great public spectacles fade into memory, and the city returns to its daily rhythm, let us turn our attention now to the smallest citizens and the calendar's gentle turning. For Roman entertainment was not only in the grand and the organized, it was also in the spontaneous laughter of a child and the cyclical comfort of a festival. These were the simple joys, the unplanned melodies in the quiet hum of everyday life. They asked for no ticket, no special building. They were woven into the very fabric of home and the turning of the year. Let's begin by listening for a sound that is timeless, the light, carefree laughter of children at play. Find a quiet courtyard, perhaps behind a bakery, or in the shared space of an insular apartment block. The sun is high, and in a patch of shade, a small world of imagination is alive. Watch them. A little girl, perhaps 7 years old, cradles her G-pupa, her doll. It might not be a doll of smooth plastic, but one carved from wood with articulated limbs, or a simpler rag doll stuffed with wool, its face stitched with thread. She is deep in conversation with it, practicing the rituals of the adult world she sees every day, tucking it into a tiny bed of cloth, scolding it gently, singing it a lullaby. It is a quiet, serious play, a rehearsal for life. Nearby, 2 boys are on their knees, their attention fixed on the dusty ground. They have a small wooden cart, its wheels squeaking as they push it along imaginary roads. They are merchants, transporting precious cargo of pebbles and broken pottery shards to a far-off market. Their voices are earnest, negotiating prices, warning of bandits on the road, or might be playing with animal figurines, a clay horse, a bronze dog, creating epic adventures on the cobblestones. Then, a more active game breaks out. A game of Etrigan, but their version with a soft cloth ball. They stand in a triangle, throwing and catching, counting misses and wins with intense concentration. Or a game of tag, koshore, their bare feet slapping against the warm stone as they dart and shriek with innocent joy. They might play with the nuts, not just to eat, but as marbles, flicking them into circles scratched in the dirt, their small faces a picture of focus. For older children, there were hoops. A bronze or wooden hoop, guided with a stick, would be sent rolling down a quiet street, the child running alongside, mastering its balance and speed. It was a game of pure motion, of keeping something in perfect, graceful forward momentum. To watch children play is itself a form of quiet entertainment for adults. A parent watching from a doorway, a grandparent from a bench, feels a soft, warm contentment. The children's absorption is complete. They are not thinking of yesterday or tomorrow. They are fully in the moment, in a world they have created from nothing but sticks, stones, and imagination. Their play is a reminder of life's fundamental, uncomplicated pleasures. The sound of their laughter is a gentle music that needs no instrument. It is the sound of the future playing happily and safely in the present. And as the days grow shorter or longer, or a particular moon phase arrives, the rhythm of simple joy expands to include everyone. The Romans marked their year with numerous festivals, Akyrie, which were official holidays, breaks from work, but also from ordinary routine. They were entertainment woven into the calendar itself, anticipated moments of collective lightness. Imagine the depth of winter. The days are cold and brief. Then comes the Saturnalia, a festival in honor of Saturn, god of a lost golden age. For several days in December, the world turns playfully upside down. Social norms are relaxed. Slaves are served a feast by their masters and are allowed to speak their minds without fear. Gambling, usually restricted, is permitted in public. People of all classes don a pilies, the felt cap of a freed slave, symbolizing temporary liberty. Gifts are exchanged, not lavish things, but simple tokens of affection. Wax candles to push back the winter dark. Walnuts, little pottery figurines called sigillaria. There is a sense of licensed mischief, of warmth and laughter pushing against the cold. It is a collective sigh of relief, a scheduled interval of chaos that paradoxically restores order by letting off steam. The streets are lively with a different energy, not of business, but of playful inversion, of recognizing their common humanity beneath the strict layers of class. In the spring, there was the Latrunculi, a festival on the 1st of March dedicated to Juno and to motherhood. It was a gentle, domestic celebration. Husbands gave gifts to their wives. Mistresses feasted their female slaves. Families gathered. It was a day honoring the heart of the home, the Mater Familias. The entertainment was in the appreciation, in the focus on family bonds, in the special foods prepared, in the feeling of being cherished and celebrated within one's own walls. Throughout the year, there were countless other festivals. The Hyperelia, for the purification of shepherds and flocks, with its bonfires and leaps over flames. The Schlomorie, for appeasing restless ghosts, a quieter, more solemn family ritual. Each festival had its own character, some boisterous, some solemn, some intimate. But each one broke the monotony of time. They were landmarks in the year, something to look forward to. They provided a shared story, a shared action for the entire community. They were entertainment rooted in tradition, in the turning of the seasons, and in the human need to come together and mark the passage of time with something more meaningful than just another day. So, from the solitary focus of a child with her doll to the citywide, playful anarchy of the Saturnalia, Romans found joy in these simple, cyclical patterns. The child's play was a private festival of imagination. The public festival was the city at play, following ancient, comforting rules. Both served the same purpose: to lift the spirit, to connect people, and to sprinkle the ordinary passage of time with moments of recognized and shared delight. They were the gentle punctuation in the sentence of the year, the deep, reassuring breath a society takes before carrying on. And so, as our mental journey through the Roman day and night comes to a close, we see a picture not just of games and shows, but of a whole philosophy of leisure. The Otium, it was time for a game of dice, for the strum of a lyre, for the quiet rustle of a scroll. It was time for laughter with friends, for the excitement of the circus, for the awe of the arena. It was all these things, woven together. Roman entertainment was about connection, to nature, to friends, to family, to the community, to stories, and to the self. It was about finding pleasure in the orderly beauty of a garden path, the strategic move in a board game, the taste of honeyed wine, the soothing heat of the baths, and the shared heartbeat of a crowd. Their world was different from ours in countless ways, but there, that human need to rest, to play, to connect, to be soothed and entertained. That is a quiet thread that connects us across the centuries. So now, let this ancient world of gentle leisure drift through your mind. Let the imagined sounds of garden water and distant music lull you. Let the thought of slow afternoons and shared meals bring a sense of peace. The Romans knew how to fill their hours with soft joys. And as you settle into the deep quiet of your own night, may you carry a little of that calm Otium with you. The story is done. The day, both theirs and ours, is complete. Let your thoughts grow soft, your breathing deep and even. It is time for rest. Good night.